Howdy! Today is the max investment Yareli video. I was a little bit here and there on what I wanted to do with it, but we ended up sticking with mostly the same build I made on Yareli a few months back, with some slight changes here and there. And of course, Dante Unbound and Jade Shadows have happened since I had done that video, and this is a much more all-encompassing build to it. It's going to be pretty spicy, and I'm quite fond of Yareli. So if you're interested, this is the fashion I have on right now, but I am going to be switching it in a second. Because what I have on the build is actually this. I'm sure people are going to be like, that's disgusting. That's exactly why I love it so much. It looks gross and perfect all at once. Now, let us go to the build. Where is it? Here it is. Alrighty, now, let us start off with Yareli before we get into her Archon charts. We do have a helmet. Her helmet will be over her third ability. Now, you can put her helmet over her fourth ability instead of her third. It's purely preference. Would you rather have a expensive energy sort of suck that ragdolls enemies everywhere afterwards, or have the little blades floating around that can deal some slash damage and stagger enemies? It's entirely up to you. I do like her force sometimes, though, because if stuff is armor stripped and has viral in it, and you get enough enemies, you can get kills, which means you can proc Archon Flow. I know Archon Flow here is one away from max, but I have never once run out of energy. I have never even gotten close to running out of energy, so, you know, it don't really matter. We have Combat Discipline here at the lowest rank possible because we can make it fit, and we want it to not lose all of our HP every time we get a kill. But we do want to be able to lose HP when we get a kill, so we can proc Arcane Avenger, giving us more crits, on top of Yareli's passive already giving us 200% crit chance to our secondary weapons. This is going to give us 45% flat crit chance to all of our weapons. Arcane Precision, so that on headshot we can get 300% damage for our secondary weapon. So if it wasn't obvious already, we definitely want to be using our pistols on Yareli. Prime Sure-Footed, so we don't get knocked down, which, I mean, you can put something else here if you feel like you don't need it, but that's entirely up to you. Fast Deflection, so we have faster shield recharge. Boreal's Hatred, so we have a higher shield gauge and more efficiency. And while I'm on it, we have one blue Archon shard for shield capacity, making it so we are at pretty much the cap for the shield gauge. It says 2.5 seconds. It's actually more like 2.95 or something like that because we're at 1141 instead of 1150. But basically the full 2.5 second shield gauge. We then have Primed Continuity for duration, Stretch for range, Equilibrium to support our energy economy, Loyal Merulina as her augment, which is very important, I'll go over it in a second, and Viral Tempest, which is for our helmet, which is Tempest Barrage. Tempest Barrage is the first ability from Hydroid, and it is his helmet ability. You cast it, and it shoots down explosive water pellets that apply corrosive to the enemies. They also do a bit of damage and stagger enemies a bit. The Viral Tempest augment makes it so they have a base status chance of 100% to also apply Viral, which scales with strength. Every hit has a guaranteed corrosive proc regardless that does not scale with strength to affect the stats chance. So with this, we can apply corrosive and viral on everything everywhere. There's also no cap on how many Tempest Barrages you can have out at once. Now. Her first, we obviously still have because it's really, really good. One of the most underrated abilities. You can only have 15 bubbles out at once, but that's 15 bubbles that are sitting still. You can hit multiple enemies with the bubbles, and then it won't count towards your bubble cap if it's got an enemy picked up. So, like, if I spam out all my bubbles here, I can pick every single enemy up, even though there's 20, and the cap of bubbles is 15, and then I can shoot more over here, as you can see. Loyal Merulina is an augment that makes it so when we cast Merulina, it doesn't have us get on top of it. Instead, it rides around with us. You go through the animation, and there it is. We get 4 full seconds of immunity, iframes, after you cast it, which is incredible. 4 seconds of iframe on command, and it only costs like 20 energy. That's ridiculous. That's better than rolling guard. On top of that, while it is riding around with us, it will shoot bubbles at enemies like our first ability does. It can be pretty dumb, but we're mostly just using it for the iframes. There you go, you can see it shoots stuff. Now, the rate at which it shoots bubbles out scales off of your ability efficiency, which is a little weird, but it doesn't really matter that much. And the bubbles it uses are based off of the stats for your first ability. Then her 4 is pretty straightforward. Most people know how it works. Just pull stuff in and then throws them out in explosion. And it does 50% more damage per target picked up. We're never going to really do damage with it. You can do some damage with it, though, if we were to, armor strip and then apply viral, but with this build, it's still not exactly doing a large amount of damage. Now, the Archon shards. Like I said earlier, we have shield capacity for a larger shield gate. We have 2 Tau-forged emerald shards for corrosive max stacks. You only need 2 normal to be able to get a full armor strip on normal enemies. However, this applies to rogue necromechs in the Murmur area. What is it? Not the Necrolisk, the Sanctum Anatomica, right? Alberic's Laboratories. And it also works for Acolytes. So Acolytes, which normally only can get 4 corrosive stacks, now can get 10 corrosive stacks for an 80% armor strip on them. This will make dealing with any sort of boss or Acolyte or Necromech significantly easier. Then we have 2 for casting speed, Tau Forged, because it massively affects how fast we can cast our Tempest Barrage to be able to just spam everywhere. Hang on, I need energy. So now we can just really cast it all over the place, because you're going to want to have this all over so we can just constantly have everything fully armor stripped and at max viral stacks, on top of the little bit of crowd control and damage it applies as well. Very, very nice to have. Something I really love about Tempest Barrage is also that it just fits with her theme, with the whole water theme with her, right? With the bubbles and Riptide and Murielina leaving water everywhere. It just really fits the whole Yareli theme. I quite like it. That is everything on her herself. Now for our weapons. We first have the Kuvasobek, which is really just here for if you need to kill something with a primary. It's not really necessary. We're not going to be using it most of the time, but when you do use it, it will be fairly effective. We have this build right here, which is meant to not need a bunch of kills to get all of our stacks up, which is why we don't have Galvanized Savvy here. And we also do not have Shotgun Vendetta, because this just makes it easier to not need kills. We can get Primary Blight to max out almost instantly because we have Toxin and a good status chance, and Galvanized Hell only takes 4 kills to get the max effect. So we almost don't even need kills to get our stacks up. We'll have most of the damage right out the gate, which is important because if we do end up switching to this to use, we're not going to use it religiously. We're going to use it a bit and then likely switch back to our secondary weapon or our melee. So it's better to just not have to get kills all the time. That being said, if you would rather get kills and just use this constantly, you can go with a build like this. And if you want to use a primary instead of a secondary, it will be a waste as far as Yareli's passive goes, but then you can just replace Arcane Precision with any other Arcane you want. It's entirely up to you. So we'll go back here. This is Acid Shells. We have Chilling Reload here because we don't really need the extra stash chance from the 60/60 Cold Shotgun mod, and it also helps fix the bad reload speed. Acid Shells is because it's, well, a very strong augment. The biggest problem normally is that enemies have armor, and you also need a debuff on them like Viral to make them take more damage so you can instantly kill them. Well, we have full armor strip and Viral from just our Tempest Barrage, meaning Kuvasobek is actually an incredibly strong primary here. And the same applies for any Warframe that you decide to put this stuff on. Look at that. Everything's dead. If you put Tempest Barrage with Viral Tempest on any Warframe, it's going to make them strong with Sobek. Then our secondary weapon is the Furus Incarnon. This is entirely up to you. All of the weapons here, for the most part, are entirely up to you. Just decent weapons that can kill stuff. This is what I personally find to be the most effective. Furus Incarnon because it is, in my opinion, the strongest weapon in the entire game. with the exception of enemies that are not weak to beam weapons, that are very resilient, such as acolytes or necromechs. But on literally anything else, this is just absurd. This weapon honestly shouldn't even exist. It's so powerful. Now we have a very heat-centered focused build. It is purely heat, no viral, because we don't need viral or armor strip because we have it from our Tempest Barrage. So crit chance, multi-shot, we don't even need the extra damage from Galvanized Diffusion. And I like not needing any kills to build up the stacks here. And the dodge speed helps us get around faster. Lethal Torrent for fire rate multi-shot, Scorch for heat, Prime Target Cracker for crit damage, a Riven, which I'll go over in a second, Pistol Elementalist for status damage for the heat effects, as well as 60% reload speed, and Seeker to get punch through because we, again, don't need more damage. Because we don't have any galvanized mods here, and our arcane is where our base damage comes from, Cascadia Flare, we don't need any kills at all. And Cascadia Flare builds up in like 1 second of shooting, meaning you never have to worry about keeping stacks up on anything for this weapon. It's just always going to be active. The Riven is heat multi-shot crit damage. You don't need this. It's entirely up to you. If you don't run that, I would run primed heated charge instead. I can't fit it in this build right now, but that is what I would put here instead. Now, with the Riven itself, if you had a Riven similar to this, you might actually end up getting higher damage with primed heated charge instead of Pistol Elementalist, because they both give almost the same damage increase to our heat ticks based off of how much heat we already have on the weapon from the Riven and the Scorch mod. But this also increases the upfront damage by a very large amount. So it actually will give you higher DPS than the Pistol Elementalist mod. However, this gives us reload speed, which is nice, and our damage is already more than high enough to kill level cap pretty much anything in the game. Even a Thrax at level cap will need no armor strip or viral or anything for this to kill it within seconds. That's how absurd this weapon is. The punch through helps a lot because the weapon has no base punch through with the beam, and it makes it so you can hit way more enemies. As far as the evolutions go, the third one is always going to be status chance. Then here we have mag capacity. You could go with one of these other two, but it doesn't really matter. I prefer extended volley. And here we have storm burst, which is important. On enemies affected by electricity hitting them, we get plus 40% multi-shot for 2 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. And we have no electric on the gun, which we will be getting from our companion, and I'll go over that in a second. Our melee weapon is the Serrata. I hope I don't end up using this in too many videos for like max investment. It's just the Serrata is so freaking good. It is incredible. Super good for killing anything in general. I don't need any sort of stacks built up with this build. I can just use it whenever the hell I want. And it destroys acolytes. Acolytes are nothing for this. This is the acolyte killing weapon. We have a pretty typical build here. I do have an Umbral form on it. So double Umbral mods, Volatile Quick Return, Prime Fever Strike, Melee Elementalist, Killing Blow, Amalgam Organ Shatter, Dispatch Overdrive for more movement speed when we detonate the heavy attack, and a Riven with initial combo crit chance negative attack speed. The Arcane is melee retaliation because we do have decent shields. It's not R5, but you don't need this. I have taken this exact build to level cap, with the difference being instead of double sack mods, I had normal prime pressure point here, and I had no arcane equipped, and it performed more than fine. So if a worse build can perform very satisfactory at level cap, then it really doesn't matter what arcane you have here. Now, you could go melee crescendo if you would prefer, but then you have to get finisher kills, and I find that a royal pain in the ass. I would rather just run something like this. It is much more comfortable. Our focus school is, again, entirely up to you. I know, most of the stuff here is just up to preference. The build itself with the companion is mostly what we want. You can either go Vazarin for survivability, lots of survivability and support, or Matarai for extra, like, damage type stuff. Matarai is very nice to have when you're doing Void Cascade. And you can also get the extra casting speed or ability strength if you want, but that's not really necessary. Uneru is pretty much worthless here. Zenaric is also pretty much worthless. We have no energy problems ever. And since we are using a glaive, we don't need Nermon either. So I would just stick with Manarite or Vazarin. I typically run Vazarin. If you know how to get headshots and you don't have a terrible amp in Arcanes, then you can use Vazarin even in Void Cascade at level cap. It can be painful at times, but I have done it multiple times. Now our companion. It is a typical Dyrega build. It is a primer build with Tenacious Bond, Synth Deconstruct for more health orbs. That way we can get more energy from Equilibrium. Guardian for extra survivability. Calculated Redirection and Accelerated Deflection to help keep it alive. Manifold Bond with Arc Coil, which is, I think most people know why that's pretty busted. If not, I suggest looking up a video on it. Prime Regen, Vacuum, Assault Mode, all those are pretty typical, and you need Tenacious Bond for the extra 1.2 final crit multiplier if our companion weapon has 50% or higher crit chance. And we are using the Volklock, which does have enough if we put Point Strike on it. We also have the 4 Vigilante mods, so we have the Vigilante passive effect, or secondary effect of the mod set. We then have Electric, Viral, and Radiation on the weapon. And because of Manifold Bond, the electricity procs from Arc Coil are always going to proc Electric, Viral, and Radiation. The Viral is pointless because we have Tempest Barrage. The Radiation is just another status, but it doesn't really matter. We mostly just want the Electric. And because it's a guaranteed proc and it's going to be hitting pretty much everything all the time, that is where the Electric to proc the extra multi-shot for the First and Karnan will come from. Entirely irrelevant if you aren't using First and Karnan. In this build, while the weapons are up to you, generally what I try to go for is consistency in damage, as well as a good weapon for killing acolytes. A good example would be you could run Tenet Galaxion in this build. Where is Tenet Galaxion? Here it is. However, Tenet Galaxion is not good for killing acolytes. Furus is not good for killing acolytes, but we end up being fine because of Serrata. You could run the Dual Toxicist. As a secondary weapon, you will still get all the benefits from Yareli, and Dual Toxicist melts both normal enemies as well as acolytes. I don't know, sorry, had such a long pause there. My brain was short-circuiting. So Dual Toxicist is one of the best options other than First and Karnan. Again, though, it's entirely up to you. You can make use of almost any secondary weapon with this build, and you'll likely be able to go to level cap if it's got a good enough build. Because we're just going to be having so much damage and crit chance from our Yareli and just max armor strip and viral and everything everywhere that we won't have really any problems at all. And that is the entire build. As far as playstyle and how to use it, it is extremely straightforward. This is one of the least effort builds you will ever use for this high level of investment in what you have to do. Just run around and kill stuff. If you need extra damage, because you do get extra damage from enemies hit by her bubble, you can use her bubble. So crowd control and extra damage from her bubbles if you want them. Always be spamming Tempest Barrage if you need it to kill stuff like it's not dying fast enough, which most of the time your weapons are going to kill stuff without even casting your abilities. So you'll rarely even need the Tempest Barrage if you're doing base Steel Path. Even up to level 1000, you likely won't even need to cast your abilities. But if you do, then, well, just do it. If you want a bit of grouping, even though Ragdoll's afterwards, you can use her 4. And if you need survivability, just cast her 2. Now, you only get the iframes when casting it, as in summoning it, not when, despawning it? So when you despawn your Yareli, you don't get the iframes back. So if you always want to make sure you have the iframes, you can just cast it, wait till it ends, and then just decast it. Or if it's already out, assuming it doesn't die, if it's out like this, then from then on, as long as it never dies, you can just always double tap it to get it, the iframes, right? So square, square. There you go. Very easy, and doesn't take much effort to get used to. So we come over here, and we can just yah all over the place, and like I showed earlier, it's gonna kill everything very easily with the Sobek. Not much effort. Then if we wanted to use our Serrata, I'm gonna wait for that to go away. There we go. Serrata by itself, not even gonna let Viral or anything proc the guys on the guys. We're just gonna do like 2 Serrata hits, and you can see most of them are going to die. Very strong weapon. Not much effort needed here. Then with Furus, oh buddy, dude. Furus is ridiculous. Furus Incarnate should not exist. We don't even need like a Furus Prime to put the Incarnate on because the weapon is just way too good as is. So let's come back over here and watch this. That took very little effort. Look at how much damage we can do. 237 ammo right now, right? Watch this. That was 2 ammo. It takes 1 ammo just to start shooting. It's a beam weapon. So let's say this guy, ready? 2.9 million on a heat proc. It dies so fast I almost can't even show anything happening. It's ridiculous. And these are body shots now. Look at that. I'm getting body shots. Let's say headshots. 4.8 million, I think that was? 3.5 million? Yeah, this is why we have like Seeker on it, just to hit more enemies, because the damage is already ridiculous. And this is before we start like Tempest barraging them. Because I can always, of course, armor strip and max viral, and then if I wanted, I add a bubble on top of that. And he died in 1 tick of damage. 1 tick of damage from a beam weapon. Okay? This is ridiculous. This just shouldn't even be a thing. The sheer amount of survivability you get with this because of the on-command, no cooldown, 4 seconds of iframes. Plus, we have high enough shields for a 2.5 second shield gate. We're pretty much invincible. We're never going to have a problem dying. And our damage is so high that we're never going to have a problem killing anything either. This is just ridiculous. So let's go ahead and go into a mission. It's not, honestly not even needed, but I guess I always want to do it for these videos anyways, just to show that it works in mission. We're going to set it to solo and go do a solo Netracell. Hopefully we get a good tile set and it doesn't go horribly wrong. I'm going to get a drink real quick. Ah, much better. Refreshing. Oh, that is a very good looking Gara. I approve. Sigil Nalat. I butchered that name, I'm sure of it. Now then, Netracells. Let us get this show on the road. Yee-haw! Wow! I love this Yareli deluxe skin so much. I've actually seen quite a few people say they hate it, but I personally think it looks fantastic. Mostly because, damn it, I always get this one. Frame Curse Key Glyph. This is the most annoying of literally any of the debuffs. And I always get it in these videos. What is my RNG? It's just terrible for ability spam frames. Oh well, I can just get the iframes before spamming my ability. That way I don't lose my HP. We should be fine. Anyways, back to the skin. A lot of people hate the skin, but I really love it because it gives me major Terraria vibes. Specifically, like the Sunken Sea in Terraria with the Calamity mod. And I'm a major simp for Terraria, specifically modded Terraria. I freaking love that. I will hopefully get around to actually streaming me playing modded Terraria soon here. I guess, I don't know. Sometime in the next month would be nice. I wanted to earlier, like a couple months ago, but things just didn't work out for that, and there's some problems with my setup and stuff right now, so I won't be doing it immediately, but in the future would be nice. But let's get back to the Warframe talk, since that's obviously what this video is about. For energy, I really never have issues with energy. If you do somehow run into energy issues, you could replace Arcane Precision here with something like Arcane Energize. Yo, what the crap? I'm actually terrible at this game. Because Arcane Energize obviously helps a lot with getting more energy. I'm going to grab this Stella real quick, just because I can. You get to deal with it, get clapped. But I personally don't ever really have energy problems in this build. or at least in the times I've used it in like endurance content. When you have to get the energy first, that's always a bit annoying at times, but usually not an issue in most mission types. And I would be seriously surprised if anybody struggles to either stay alive or get kills with this build, even with any other weapons they decide to use instead of the ones I'm using right now, because all the weapons are entirely up to the user. If you are not, I probably should have mentioned this before when I was in the, what is it, the arsenal, but if you're not going to go for the electric application with your Dairiga just to get the extra evolution to proc on the one gun, First Incarnon, then what I would actually recommend is running a different weapon that you can get pure magnetic on it for your Dairiga's little arc coil. Because magnetic, now after Jade Shadows, works very, very similarly to Viral, almost exactly the same, except instead of applying health on enemies, and, well, actually that's it for Viral, instead of applying the health on enemies to make it take more damage, magnetic works by doing the same exact thing with the same values, except to shields and overguard. The first stack giving a 100% damage increase, and every subsequent stack giving another 25% up to 10 stacks, for a 325% damage increase to health with Viral or shields and overguard with magnetic. And what's so nice about that is that even with one singular magnetic proc from your Dairiga running around hitting stuff, will double your damage to overguard on enemies. So that obviously is very, very nice to have. It makes destroying Eximus much, much easier. Especially like the Thrax with the overguard when you're doing Void Cascade, which is the main thing I use this build in. But this build will work in literally anything. I'm just spamming Kuva Sobek right now, because building up the Incarnon form on everything that dies so quickly here will be pretty much pointless. There's not really a reason to do it. So I'm just going to end up overkilling everything if I use the first. I suppose I can also, like, cast my Serata. Oh, dang it, it died. I wanted to show you real quick. But if you looked real closely while that thing was there, you could see that the Necromech had 10 corrosive stacks, which is very nice, which is why we have the double Calforged greens instead of 2 normal greens. Because this is max investment. Look at that. Our shields break, just give yourself the iframes. You're chilling. If you gotta run out, wait for your shields to recharge because we have fast deflection, and you should be fine. Or wait for Guardian to proc from your companion or whatever. Yeah, your Sentinel. It's gonna be very, very easy to survive. The first time I ever used this build, and it was actually a slightly worse version of this build, but the first time I used it was on a level cap Void Cascade run. We unfortunately did not make it to level cap because one of my friends had to go and one of the blueberries lagged out, which was unfortunate. But we still got to about level 6,000, I believe, and up until the very end when people were leaving and I was getting overwhelmed because I hadn't left yet, I hadn't been downed or even close to getting downed even once, because the survivability is just so high in this build, and on Yareli in general when you have Loyal Meriolina. It's actually insane how strong this augment for Yareli is. Just on-command iframes is ridiculous. I mean, that's why people use Rolling Guard so much, is you have on-command iframes with a status cleanse, but it has a cooldown. Whereas this, other than energy, which energy is not a problem, we have no cooldown. We can just, whenever we want, become completely invincible. And while it doesn't have a status cleanse, it does... Why am I so slow? What the crap? There we go. Even though it doesn't have a status cleanse, it does have such a long iframe duration and being able to just recast it that it's not really a problem. Watch, I'm actually running low on HP from the abilities draining my health. It would suck to get down here after all that talk of never getting down. I think I should be fine though. I should be chilling. Yeah, there we go. We're big chilling, as the kids say, right? That's what you youngins say, isn't it? Something like that. I'm totally hip and cool because I said that. Y'all say stuff like skibbity toilets or phantom tax. I don't know what any of those words mean, but I'm sure if I say them, it'll make somebody be like, wow, look at him. He said the word. Now it's in the algorithm. Now those young people will be happy. I don't know. Alright, what the hell forced me out of my, or into my operator right there? I have no idea, but I did not press my operator button. We can, of course, cast our 4 should we decide we want to. Not that it's necessary, but you can see even when I cast it, energy's not a problem. We can even spam it if need be. As long as you continue to kill stuff, you will never have energy problems. Especially because Dyrega with Synth Deconstruct for lots of extra energy, or not energy orbs, health orbs, which are then converted to energy via Equilibrium. I'm just gonna run into here and destroy this immediately because I don't need to get all these crates or whatever. Come on, come on, let Daddy break this and run to extraction. There we go. So I think that was a pretty good showcase of what this build can do. It's very, very low effort, but very fun and absurdly effective. Just stupidly, stupidly effective. I know a lot of people just like to use their Saren and stuff, but something Saren lacks in my experience is easy survivability, whereas this is extremely easy survivability. I mean, if you just want survivability, there's obviously Revenant as well, another metaframe, but Revenant lacks the insane damage that we get with this. So, I mean, you know, you do you, play whatever you want. That's going to do it for the Yareli showcase, max investment showcase specifically. If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe. Adios.